Hi all, it's Tony Flath at T-Man Speaks, the Wave of Change. Um, it's been quiet, but now we've got a few more episodes coming out. It's been exciting, some cool things going on. Just to set this episode up, I recently had a chance to sit in with a chat with a few people from IBM. IBM Cloud and IBM Watson are being used in conjunction with the Grammys to do carry out for anyone who wants to go on and uh, have a part in it or have a say in it or debate anything. They can put this information online, and it's going to take all these millions of users and it's going to track this information. It's very exciting, really excited to be a part of it. Bethany Douglas from IBM coordinated it. Thanks so much. And she was moderating it. And then Yoav Katz, who is involved from the development side, he gave us a good overview. And of course, IBM partner Christopher Penn, he certainly had some great technical questions. Straight up smart guy, so it was great. And I got to get some questions in too. And it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see how IBM is going to be using frameworks that they've developed for other reasons to train in another environment. So you can really see the value and different things you can do with artificial intelligence and with Watson. So do enjoy. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chris and Yoa, for kicking us off. I know we just couldn't wait. It was exciting questions right at the top. And Tony, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you both here. Super esteemed, incredible tech gurus in your own right. And then we've got Yoav here, who is the manager of all things IBM Debating Technology, who's really one of the masterminds behind the Grammys integration. So we know we've got a lot of great questions from Tony and Chris, but we think we just give Yoav just a moment to explain a little bit about the integration at the Grammys Awards and the ways that people can get involved, even running up to the show and some of our debates. And then we'll just totally leave it to you both for questions. That sound good?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, Yoav, over to you.
Okay, so what we've done together, the research team, the IBM research team, and the IBM Sport and Entertainment team with the Academy is create a new experience for people to enjoy in the Grammys, and that's to let their voice be heard on different debate topics. So there are 4 debate topics that are available on the site. You can choose whatever topic interests you. And within the topic, you can put in your position. For example, one topic is whether music education should be compulsory in school. There are pros and cons for that. You can put in your inputs, see how the system ranks it in terms of both polarity, automatically identifying which side of the debate you are on, and also in terms of the quality of your submission. And you can see that visually ranking against other submissions. And interestingly, every day we take the inputs of all the submissions from the previous days and we summarize them into a set of key points that highlight the most prominent points that were made by the entire audience. And you can see both these points, and you can drill down and see the particular input that were given by each of the members. And this really gives a way for everyone to see what really everyone else is thinking, giving an equal voice to everyone in that sense. And I think we're very excited. We are using this platform that was initially debuted in the That's Debatable television show, but I think what we've done together with the sports team is really scale that to be able to reach to a much larger audience in this event.
Nice.
Thanks for the overview. Tony, do you have a question you want to head first?
Yeah, sure. I'd be curious, so is this, I think this was a carryover from last year, right? You had done some work on this last year. Is that correct?
Last year was a demonstration of another technology in the Grammys, also from IBM Research, a summarization technology, and that it was able to take information about a certain artist and summarize that, and they presented it during the event on the website.
Nice. Right, nice. So you've got this year, even more exciting, where you're getting more interactive and you know, kind of viewpoints on where people are at on different things. Looking at that, right? What kind of things have you put in place, you know, to look at what kind of users are, you know, logging in, or, you know, if there's any skewed, you know, or biased kind of things that might come through? What kind of things are built into the application to catch some of that?
Okay. So the design of the system is to allow anyone to submit without requiring login or identification. And so everyone can join through either through the website or also from Twitter. There is going to be Twitter promotions are going to be made, and people can reply to this, and these are automatically ingested into the system, analyzed, and also added to the pool of arguments being made at public audience. Of course, when you open up this kind of thing, you are there is a chance that, you know, people will be skewed. People might put irrelevant content, or they even put inappropriate content. So we have different filters, both automatic, that the system automatically can determine things that are not relevant. But there's also going to be a review to filter out inappropriate content. It could be, you know,
like based on sentiment or kind of the tone of any kind of conversation, you'll have some natural language processing that kind of identifies that.
So part of it is this, but also because we present these results on the website so everyone can see, there's going to be also a review to make sure that, you know, offensive, inappropriate, racist text will not be on there. I mean, it's very important, I think, for everyone not to let this kind of I wouldn't say opinions, but maybe statements be visible to the rest of the audience.
Nice, nice. Because we could get pretty, you know, like you could have your heavy metal and your country fans getting pretty diabolical viewpoints, right? You gotta kind of watch that, I guess, right?
Yeah, and I think we're not. The point is not to censor people. I mean, people can say things that pro or con, but, you know, we won't allow hateful speech or call for violence or just, you know, racist or just use of curse words, of course.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's great. Another question, you know, and this was looking some pre-work looking at you know, just how this is designed. And I'd be curious from an IBM and just from a hybrid cloud perspective, how is hybrid cloud enabling what you're doing? Like, how are you able to carry out these different analyses and get some really good quality analytics and be able to release some pretty good quality information on the night of the Grammys? Like, what things are you kind of doing, and how is the hybrid world enabling that?
So I think, first of all, the entire Grammy experience, the website is being hosted by IBM, and, you know, the target is for millions of people to view this, and obviously also in a very short period. So there's a lot of focus on resiliency and fallback. So the IBM cloud infrastructure, both the hybrid cloud and the public clouds, are being used for that. They're the key technologies. Everything is built over OpenShift as the underlying platform, and we actually combine, you know, the different technologies of IBM to build this experience. And as I alluded to before, we had these IBM research services that are available for analyzing content and analyzing data. But at this scale, we actually leverage both the hybrid cloud infrastructure and the experience of the team, the sport and entertainment team, to make that into a robust infrastructure that we can leverage in these 2 weeks.
Can you talk about, so I think 2019, we saw at that time the architecture of Project Debater as it was. Can you talk about, you mentioned Transformers, sort of the broad architecture and how it's changed and evolved since then? What does the system architecture look like now?
Okay. So the system has evolved significantly in the past 2 years. When we had the event, the system was more or less built in a monolithic design with some external services. It was built for resiliency in terms that we had this single event. We want to make sure it works. So we had these backups, like on different sites. But that was the focus, the single use case and a single event. Since then, we moved to a microarchitecture environment where each of the technologies that were based on Project Debater was made into a component that's deployed as a container on the cloud. So this allowed to use it in various use cases and in various events. And this also what allowed us also to migrate it to this kind of event where we have a larger scale simply by leveraging the hybrid cloud capabilities. So that's one aspect of the change, the architecture. The second thing is, the underlying algorithms. So we have moved, as NLP progresses, we see that today transformers are really undeniably the most prominent technology in NLP, and we see that this yields significant accuracy improvements overall, and this is why we use that. IBM also uses this in its products. For example, there's a beta feature in Watson Discovery that allows you to classify text based using these transformer architectures, and sentiment as well as entity recognitions are being migrated to support also these kind of models. I think an interesting aspect to this is that you can see it in the entire industry. There is kind of a lag between the research work and what's happening in the conferences and what's happening in the industry, and this is both natural, but there are really good reasons why this is happening, because as you move to these models, the performance, the accuracy of these models substantially improves, but that comes at some
the compute cost is higher. The compute cost is much higher.
It's much higher. So both, just the number of calculations per request could be an order of magnitude larger, or even several orders of magnitude larger if you're looking at large models like GPT-3. And even more than that, the type of compute needs to be changed. So if you want low latency, you may need GPUs, and GPUs also are much more difficult to parallelize and share. So all this thing around how you get your compute and how you make it economical is just one aspect that you need to take into account when you migrate to these kind of models. And just another interesting point is about the data. Of course, if you feed this more data, even unsupervised data, you can get, again, improve performance. But what was shown is that if you use, let's say, contract data to train your classifier around contracts, you can actually extract pieces of your existing contracts used in training from these models. So the issue of data privacy and data rights becomes more evident in these models. So that's like a second leg that you need to address. And the third one is that explainability. As these models become larger, you really have very little in the way of understanding why they're making a decision. They are usually much more accurate, but that's at the cost of us, the engineers who build that, and the researchers understanding how they can be controlled.
Nice. So I have a question around, obviously you did a lot of pre-planning on this, and you put together some different kind of training models, like you were saying, to get some kind of examples flow through, and then you'll see how that flows in through the event and through to the live day, which will be really exciting to see all this information flow. What's your hope to see from a machine learning and from really training and getting better data to work with? What is your hope for this year, and then really what that might mean as years progress and you get even more information and more data into the system?
So
like sorry. So you're going to be training and doing all these different things and building out a better library of information to work with, right? And I'm sure you've done a lot. I'd like to hear a little more on the pre-work and what you're looking to see how that flows through. But I could also see this over this year and into next year, just enabling you to build a lot of fine data now, and then even have more meaningful data to build into the system to refer to see even better analytics, things like that, just a better accuracy with the data as you get more information into it.
Mm-hmm. So we have actually two goals. The first goal in this event to show that to the world that we can work at and summarize opinions at a very large scale. I think at a scale that I hope it was not done before. The second thing is that we actually want to minimize the amount of specific work that's need to be done for future event or future use cases. And indeed, as we get more data and as we improve our algorithms, we see that we are more and more able to adapt to different domains and different tasks. And we actually have a few papers in recent conferences where we show this, how the key point technology can be applied to reviews, can be applied to social media analysis, and to solicit data like we have here in the Grammys. And we actually eat our own dog food. So there is a team in IBM using it, on a regular basis to analyze social media. And we also used it with the HR team, used it for the IBM Pulse engagement survey. That's hundreds of thousands of employees putting their textual comments. And we ran the same key point technology over this data and provided these insights for the HR team. Got into the stakeholders presentation of really what are the key points that the employees of IBM want to give their leadership.
Nice. That's really exciting.
Talk about with the models themselves. Are you doing any like active learning or reinforcement learning with the models themselves from the inputs that you're getting, or is the model sort of baked in place right now and live, but you're not allowing essentially, the Microsoft Tay problem? You're not allowing user input to actually retrain the model.
Okay, so right now we are using the models for this event as is. We're not changing it as the system progresses. This is actually the test of our technology that we want to see that although we didn't train the system on the data of specific, Grammy and the Grammy audience, we do want to see that it's able to transfer what it learned from different topics and also from arguments that are on the topic but were made by totally different people to the input that's given from the crowd.
Are you using like a retrieve and rank at all with the sort of the debate matching? So because I know like one of the things that Google's been doing a lot recently is trying to do retrieve and rank with BERT, with their transformer, at a document level to say like, okay, can we use this for just pure document level matching? And with the Grammys thing, obviously it's much shorter strings, they're 36 words maximum. But how are you doing the retrieve ranking for the debate points?
So in the Grammys we hope thousands of people that are participating and putting in their arguments, and from these thousands of arguments we actually want to find the key points. So we have a large set of arguments, and we have from these we extract potential key points. These are parts of the arguments that seem that are short, they are concise, they're talking to the point, they're talking about only one thing. And we do this kind of matching between this large set of arguments to the potential key point candidates. And at the end, we see which candidates have the most matches, and from this we extract. So it's a bit different from a retrieval of documents, because where you're having retrieval, usually you have millions of documents, really want to fine tune to a small set of this that's most relevant. In this case, we want to take into account all the input from all the audience, and actually match it against the input of all the other audience. So we have like naively we have like a quadruple complexity, n to the second. But of course we optimized it so we can handle thousands and tens of thousands. And as I said, we also ran it on hundreds of thousands of comments.
Are you using a graph network for that?
a graph network. No, it's like more you can conceptualize it maybe as a graph between like a bipartisan graph where you have two parts. You have the key points and you have the arguments, and you want to match between them. But we don't use the neural graphs per se.
Okay, got it.
Nice, nice. And from an IBM cloud perspective, I would assume and would love to hear kind of some of your thoughts, or just share how you've designed it. I'm sure like you want to see as many people get online with this as possible, right? So let's say that you just all have a mass jump on of, 50 million, 100 million people all at once, right? How has the solution been baked to handle that mass load and still digest the information and train the system the way you want and still carry it out in production?
Okay, so I think that the design approach, which was led by the sports and entertainment team, which has experience in building these kind of large events, is first of all you have to see the flow, like the funnel of people. I mean, you could have a very large amount of people getting into the website at the same time. So you have to have all your content obviously being served efficiently across domains, and this is all the static content that you need to serve. Then you have the people who are going to go to the specific content for the debate, and then there are going to be the people who are going to submit their arguments. So our backend has a specific capability of how many arguments it can address per second, and the sports and entertainment team build layers to throttle that, so they're able to control and to meet the maximum rate of the backend system. And so this is the online process, and naturally there is also a process. If there are too many people, it's going to change, for example, the experience in some way, still giving a lot of relevant input to the user, but maybe less than if it would be in a less loaded environment. So this kind of gradual system change as the load increases, something that they designed to the system.
Right, right. And you reference... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
How many pre-processing layers are there? Because like what Tony was saying, if you have a huge swamp of people, do you do like lighter weight text pre-processing before you throw it against the model? Like, for example, getting rid of profanity, getting rid of obvious stuff, that so that you don't even bother attempting to run compute on it because there's no point. Like, how much filtering how much layering goes into before it hits the transformer?
Well, our assumption is that there is going to be some inappropriate content, but it's going to be hopefully a small amount. So we do
the internet, man.
It was built
that yeah, heroes behind a keyboard. Yeah.
Again, I mean, if it's just people saying no, there's a question whether Prince is the most influential musician. People may have different opinions, and they can say and articulate things against that, and they can say it in many ways, and that's fine. I do hope that most people will put in arguments that are meaningful, and this is the assumption. So we are not trying to optimize on that. What we do is also we separate between the entry, which we want to have very short latency, and then we have this background process of processing all these arguments that's happening in the background, so the user sees the result, but doesn't have to wait until these results are ready.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense, just to be more efficient in how the data is spread out, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be curious. You referenced a few times that this is coming from the sports, what you've done with Watson in the sports capacity, right? And I know with the NFL, I certainly am a big fan and saw some insights there. And You know, even Christopher, when we were in New York, I got a chance to get to an NFL game and sure was thinking about all the smart information that was floating around me, not just the game, right? But I'd be curious. So it's kind of like a proof of concept to some degree of taking, you know, lessons learned from one environment and seeing if you can train another environment from some of that framework, right? And if that's applicable, this could have a bigger meaning for a lot of scale, I would think, eh?
Yeah, this is our hope. We've been both developing and displaying this technology for the last year and a half. So initially it was, for example, shown in a digital day in Lugano, Switzerland, where they asked the constituents whether they should support autonomous vehicles in their city. So that was like an initial test. Then we did it a few more times. Every time we do it, we learn more, we improve the system. And we actually added the key point capability is new because I think what's unique about getting the audience input, which is different from the original debate system, is that you're not only interested in the most interesting and the highest quality opinions, but you really want to understand the prevalence of this opinion. So we added this quantitative aspect to the summary, and this has a lot of implication. We see that also in IBM in their use. We see more and more people within IBM using this for their surveys, for their jams, for reviews of courses and things like that. So we really believe that through this we will learn and improve, and I think it will be applicable for many people also outside IBM and outside the use cases that we are even thinking about right now.
No, I like that you had referenced there that you'd used this through your HR survey and, you know, had seen some value from that, right? I think it really showcases that you do have some applicable models that you can go after and train with the same kind of frame, right? So that'll be interesting to kind of see and, you know, and bring it with some music. I mean, rock on. You can't go wrong, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Can you
I think
talk?
what's nice about the Grammys is that it's a lot of fun, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
yeah.
Can you talk about the corpus you used to train your transformers? Because, like, for example, GPT-2 did about like I think 2.5 billion documents, mostly from the web, and you can tell when you're interacting with it in a naive mode that without pre-priming, it will just spit out some really interesting stuff from the internet. What did you use to train your transformers?
Mm-hmm. So our transformers, first of all, we're using these pre-trained models that are available, and we fine-tune them to this specific problem. So we feel like the problems of pro-con, for example. You know, I want to understand if someone says something about an artist, if it's positive or negative. Okay, so we have a lot of data that we collected in the original debate system because we had also that problem there, pro-con of different topics, and we augmented that with music-specific data that we collected. And I can give you just an interesting example. Greatest of all times, when you write it down, it's GOAT, right? G-O-A-T. Now, if you give it to a model, usually they think that if you say someone is a GOAT, then it's not a good thing.
Tom Brady probably comes up now. Jeez.
Yeah. So we had to train that in this context, GOAT is really, or greatest of all time, is really a positive thing to say.
Okay.
Said. Well, here's hoping that he remains greatest of all time after the debates are through. And just thank you so much for the time you have. Really, really appreciate it. Rapid fire for Chris and Tony. Let's hear it. So virtual concerts are better experiences than live shows. Would love to hear if you're pro or con, maybe a second on why. And then hope you.
I hate other human beings. I hate being near other human beings, so I like virtual concerts.
This has been a good year then, huh?
This is a hot topic. This is something I'm working with a few people out of Australia on better than real life, right? Looking at what events are going to look like, because look at travel bans are happening internationally predominantly till 2022, right? So I personally see a big influx of virtual events. I'm working with a few of these individuals on that push, right? I think we'll see more of that. I think we're going to see some more mediums, like we've been playing around with, a few different platforms that'll be used in order to engage people. I think it'll really need to go beyond Zoom and just heads floating, right? There'll have to be some meaning to it. But of course, we all want to get back to some real life things, but I don't think we're going to see that happen in the very near future. And really going forward, I think that if anything, even from what's happened virtually, there's a real appetite for it, right? Even, look at how voice is taken off. Look at Clubhouse. Look at, Twitter Spaces, right? There's all this activity to add some different mediums and have some different ways for people to be communicating. So, power to the internet. I mean, it's just fired up, right? Everybody's
Right.
consuming, right?
Power to both of your podcasts. Very cool. Definitely agree. Thank you so much for the time and really, really appreciate it. We'll be sure to send out this recording, and any questions, just feel free to follow up with me and I'll try and pass them along. Yoav, thank you and best of luck in advance of the Grammys. We'll all be participating in those debates and excited to see the responses.
Thanks so
Have an
much.
Take care,
awesome
everyone.
day, everybody. Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it. Bye now.
All right, see you
Bye-bye.
soon.